Hello and welcome to Hexed Encountered. My name is Joe. Today I'm going to be doing the first season of play here for my Mythic League Baseball. You guys have hopefully seen the setup videos I did prior to this one, and now it's time to actually get down and play some games. Let's play some baseball. So this is the 1871 season. As you know, hopefully, the thrust of this whole project essentially has been to kind of do a historical framework. So we're talking the Historical National Association, which was the first professional baseball league, and the real teams that were, a part of the NA, but all of the personnel, the players, the staff, manager, etc., front office, all those people, owner, all those people are fictional. So having said that, as I mentioned, everything else is going to be realistic. So we're going to have real schedule, everything be real, basically. So if you're not familiar with how to play OOTP24, there are probably better resources than this video to kind of show you the ins and outs of how you run a sim and all that stuff. But I am going to, as you can see up here, we have Sunday, January 1st. 1871. I'm on my manager page. I don't actually run a team. I'm acting as the commissioner. That's interesting. It has my age as 150 years old and being born in 1720. That's crazy. We can actually edit that if we come to right in here. Let's just make them like 21 years old. That would be a lot better. So 20 years old, good enough. About to be 21 since it's January 1st and the birthday is January 14. All right, so you have multiple ways of progressing a league, right? Here under the play menu item, you can do finish today, which will just play one day. You can auto play to a specified date. You can play an entire week, an entire month, or an entire year, and that's a calendar year. Then you have events. So events can be everything kind of that's involved in a league. Now, this league is very basic because baseball at this time was very basic. So we have opening day, roster expansion, which actually didn't exist back then either. And then regular season ending. And then if there were playoffs, there would be playoffs. If there was an all-star game, that would be in there. If there was a draft, it would be in there. Rule 5 draft would be in there. Opening a free agency, all kinds of other things would be in here. But because, again, this is a basic league, you're not going to see any of that stuff. There's also this simulation module, which will let you take two teams and kind of play, you could play 1,000 games between them without permanently keeping statistics, and then it will show you the results and the stats that the players accrued over that time, over those games. So that's a good way to kind of pit two teams head to head, have them play all these games, and then see which team is essentially the better team. Okay, so I am going to actually select regular season ends and just play this out like so. And you can see it's going to speed through. You'll get stories in here. I didn't really mess with storylines, but you can adjust storylines and set start and end years for them, which is a good way to kind of structure your storylines. If you're really interested in storylines, it's a good way to structure it for the era, making era appropriate type thing. So if you wanted something that would be appropriate for an 1871 league, something in the 19th century, that would be a good way to do it. So our season, as you can see, it progressed really quickly and it's over. So that's how quickly this happens. Now let's take a look. If we go to the league homepage, we can take a look at what happened this season, right? So as you can see, the Boston Red Stockings actually won the pennant with a 24-7 record, a 774 winning percentage. They were 8-2 in their last 10, and ended on a 6-game winning streak. You'll also notice, if we go to the standings page real quick, the teams did not all play the same number of games. We played the historical schedule. There were teams that basically pulled out, didn't make late trips, etc., basically for financial reasons, teams who felt like they didn't have a chance to win. So it's like, why am I wasting my money and sending my teams out? Or, why are we wasting our money going, if we're New York, why are we going to waste our money going out to Chicago, right? Because unlike today, a New York to Chicago trip in, the post-Civil War era was actually not something super easy. It had become relatively routine, but it was still a pretty decent length trip when you're talking train, because that was the way to do it, was to go by train. So obviously it was doable because they did in fact do it, but it wasn't, like today you could jump in your car and drive to Chicago and it wouldn't be a big deal. And it would actually be faster than it was to take a train back in 1871. So, as I mentioned, Boston first, they played 31 games. You can see Fort Wayne, who actually finished second by the reckoning of modern standings, was 12-7 for a .632 percentage in their second. Now you can see this is sorted by winning percentage. The standings in the actual NA of this time would have been sorted by wins. So the team with the most wins would have been declared champion, even if someone else had a better winning percentage than they did. So in this case, the first place team would still be Boston, but the second place team would actually have been Troy, then New York, and then Washington, who actually had a losing record. A significantly, well, maybe not significantly, but a worse record than Chicago and Philadelphia, who both had 12 wins, but had a higher winning percentage, so they're up a little higher. So as you can see, Fort Wayne actually played the fewest games. Now, let's go back to our league homepage here to kind of discuss a little bit more. So, home runs, a lot of the ballparks in 1871 didn't even have an outfield fence. So they would have kind of a roped off area maybe, and maybe not even that. Maybe it was just open field or whatever. Ballparks were very rudimentary, maybe some bleacher style seating around a field. And as I mentioned, some of the fields didn't even have an outfield fence. They may have put up a rope and some fans stood behind the rope or whatever. But home runs were generally hit what we would consider today to be an inside the park home run, where they just hit it so far that by the time the fielder got it and retrieved it and threw it back in, the runner had, rounded the bases and scored. So we do have a home run champion under those conditions. His name is Mike Carter. He played for Rockford, and he had 6 home runs. He hit .318. Statistically, things were kind of somewhat all over the place. We have our batting champion here, Joe Cram, the catcher for Boston, hit .435. So you had probably some players, if we delve a little deeper, you'd have some players who probably had pretty poor batting averages. You'd also have some pitchers who would kind of be all over the place. Now, you see here we have bullpen ERA. There really wasn't a bullpen. There really weren't relievers. Guys played the whole game generally unless they got hurt. It's really hard to emulate that in OOTP. Unless you play the games out, playing both sides one by one, then you can do it, because you just leave the starting pitcher in there no matter if he's getting his brains beat out on the mound or not. You just leave him out there and he pitches the whole game. Even if he throws 400 pitches, he's out there and throws 400 pitches. That's just how it works. You can see our league leader in strikeouts is John Thronberg, who had a whopping total of 16. So again, not a whole lot going on there. Basically, that's how quick this was, and I'm going to kind of progress quickly through this, and I'm going to do these kind of short videos just to kind of show what happened in that season and go over it a little bit, but not all that much in depth. And it's going to be difficult at first to kind of figure out who the stars are, so to speak, but that'll become evident once we get 2-3 years in. If we see Cram continuing to lead the league in hitting every year, then hey, this guy's pretty good or whatever. Maybe he'll be a potential Hall of Famer someday. We're still a good 60 years or so from the start of the Hall of Fame. So that will actually do it. This is going to be a really short video. I just wanted to kind of go through this first season, give you guys a look at it. And then I'm going to refine this process, and I'll do a little bit more probably as we go forward. These first seasons are going to be fairly basic, bare bones, very short, not a whole lot going on. As I mentioned, we haven't really learned the league yet, and we'll get into that as we progress. So for now, that's going to do it. I appreciate you taking, your few minutes out of your day here to watch this video. Hopefully you found it somewhat entertaining. Like I said, I know it's very basic and probably kind of bland, but things will get better as we move forward. But for now, that will do it. So please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. If you would, that would be great. But until next time, my name is Joe. This has been Hexed Encountered Sports Edition. And until next time, happy gaming.